Hi. Hello. Can you hear
Hi.
me?
Yes, we're hearing you fine. So we're just going to give the participants about 1 minute again to filter in, and we'll begin promptly at 10:06.
Okay. So you said I could share from my side, right?
Yes.
Do I have access?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Okay, it's 10:06. I can.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 10:06. I'm going to have to begin, introduce the session and the speakers. And Ms. Pacquette, you can, following my introduction, you can begin to do your presentation.
Okay. Just give me 1 second. Let me alert someone in the house that I am on a session, so I wouldn't be disturbed. Okay.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Joanne Leanthia, Research Officer and Coordinator of NEHR's Entrepreneurship Initiative, and I'm very happy to welcome you all to the fourth and final session of the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Ecosystem webinar series. So as you know, most of you who've been following the series is intended to develop awareness of best practices and promote a coordinated approach within the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. This morning's session involves presentations by our two featured speakers, Ms. Leanthia Pacquette and Mr. Emerson John Charles, followed by a discussion on their unique viewpoints. So you may raise your virtual hand to ask questions following the presentations, and you may also type your questions in the chat as we go. Following this segment, we have planned a virtual networking session, which we hope would allow the participants to form connections and explore collaborations as we end our series. So today's webinar focuses on the topic, the Innovation Charter, promoting cooperation, collaboration, and economic sustainability within the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. As we have a lot of content to cover this morning, I'll now dive right in and introduce our first speaker, Ms. Leanthia Pacquette. Ms. Pacquette is a management consultant from the Commonwealth of Dominica with over 33 years professional experience. She has worked for 22 years as a government public officer in Dominica and has been a certified project manager for 15 years and has 11 years experience as a trained value for money auditor. She is currently a lead lecturer and training program manager / coordinator for the Project Management Institute, and she is the owner and manager of Management Consultancy and Agency Services. Ms. Pacquette has a published article on risk management for development projects in the public sector, and she is also a trained small business development center counselor and director. She has delivered training workshops and prepared business and project plans with financial analysis for many small business owners. She has a thorough knowledge and understanding of the essentials needed for business success and the ability to improve efficiency and facilitate growth and profitability. Ms. Pacquette is currently pursuing a PhD in education with the Atlantic International University. I now welcome Ms. Leanthia Pacquette to share her knowledge and experience with us.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Nahes and GBES for this opportunity. I am going to share my screen right now. Okay, can you see the screen properly?
Yes, we can. You could
Okay.
probably transition to slideshow
Right, sure,
mode.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's better.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect, perfect.
All right, so let me just angle this to the side. Right. I am elated to be part of this presentation and also to join my co-host, Emerson John Charles. This session this morning focuses on the theme, the Innovation Charter, cooperation, collaboration, and economic sustainability within the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. Based on the importance of the Innovation Charter, I saw it necessary to also bring some information on the evidence of other charters that have made proper use of using Caribbean islands like Trinidad as case studies to promote charters and to understand the importance of a charter. Most times the charters are introduced to encourage collaboration among communities, to promote better opportunities to support a business system or a project. In this case, we are focusing on the ecosystems in Trinidad and Caribbean. So as a result of this focus, this charter is also part of encouraging other business sectors, especially the private and public sector organizations, to be part of a charter. Being part of a charter will encourage sustainability for the ecosystem in the future and also development for the ecosystem presently. Because understanding the concept of ecosystem, it's important to also understand that the ecosystem requires proper maintenance. And as a result of proper maintenance, there is a cost factor. So to ensure that there's cost effectiveness with the maintenance of the ecosystems, the charters that are already established are giving support to make sure that the systems are properly maintained from different islands or different communities or regions to ensure that there's sustainability of the ecosystems. But because the Caribbean islands do not really have an established charter, we could benchmark on the Commonwealth Blue Charter as it's presented on this slide. There's evidence of successful implementation of innovation charters. Example, the Commonwealth Blue Charter. The Commonwealth Blue Charter has been established to give support to ecosystems. But a case study was done by the Commonwealth Blue Charter on the mangrove ecosystems in Trinidad. So therefore, there's evidence that the Innovation Charter can be a vision for the Caribbean islands to come together and establish a charter to take it forward to promote better opportunities, unification among the Caribbean islands, to keep the ecosystem at a certain standard, because everything we do based on requirements, there are standards that we have to comply with. So ecosystems also are maintained and managed based on standards. I won't go deep into the standards part because my co-presenter, Mr. Emerson John Charles, will elaborate a little more on innovation and standards for ecosystems. And the overview of the Innovation Charter to encourage cooperation and collaboration and unified community in the Caribbean islands. We can also look at the evidence of the Caribbean Natural Resources Institute, the Canary, in collaboration with other organizations who came together to give support also to the biodiversity hotspots in the Caribbean region so that we could place some more value in everything we also do to promote development and sustainability regarding business and project development. There's a level of business value that we have to place on these aspects. So therefore, these organizations saw it necessary to come together and focus on conservation of ecosystems. And the focus was on biodiversity hotspots that they recognize there are many Caribbean islands who are privileged to have that natural resource hotspots. I can make evidence that Dominica, the island that I am from, we are very fortunate to have many different areas to focus on biodiversity hotspots. And now in Dominica, ecotourism has been one of our popular and main source of economic development. It has been doing very well, similarly to Trinidad, who has been taking ecosystems to a higher level, especially regarding ecotourism. So the focus here on this slide is really to encourage and bring more awareness of how we can collaborate, come together and unify as a community to push a charter and support the development and sustainability for the ecosystems going forward. Based on the case study from Canary and the other people, the other organizations who came together to ensure that they encourage unification among the Caribbean communities regarding the biodiversity hotspot, it is evident that in October, between October 2010 and July 2016, the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund was also involved to give financial support because of the high maintenance costs of maintaining ecosystems. We need support from organizations who can come together to support the maintenance costs to promote sustainability for the ecosystems. So the Canary has seen this as a main objective to support Caribbean islands hotspot, and some of the countries who are benefiting from such financial support include islands like Antigua, Dominica, Trinidad, Barbados, Jamaica. So therefore, it is encouraging to part of a unified community to take the ecosystem to the level and to maintain the standards that we expect to promote better ecosystems. This is an example of the different Caribbean islands that were identified with hotspot by the biodiversity hotspots supported by Canary to give support to ensure that the ecosystems are maintained and that there's continuity in the communities, the different areas, to keep that ecosystem at a high standard. Because of the standards, you need that support. And therefore, as I come to the end of these examples of the evidence of the charters, the organizations that support ecosystems in different ways, I would just like you to look at it closely to see that many of our islands are part of the biodiversity hotspots. And this is part of the ecosystems that we are trying to bring more awareness and more collaboration to form a body to support the ecosystem. We have the innovation and entrepreneurship. Innovation concept was discussed by Julian Henry on the first webinar presentation. So therefore, my focus on this presentation will not be too much on innovation. Henceforth, I brought in innovation to show the relationship with innovation and entrepreneurship, because going forward as an entrepreneur, you have to look at the concept of innovation in different areas, especially focusing on ecosystems. So here on this slide, the concept of innovation and entrepreneurship are undeniably interrelated. So therefore, we can say innovation supports entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship also requires the support of innovation to take the ecosystems forward because of the focus of the awareness of ecosystems. Innovation is a specific tool of entrepreneurs. So we know what is for it, capable of being presented as a discipline, capable of being learned. So what is important about innovation is how much value we place on innovation, how we look at it, and how we take innovation to work with our ecosystems. Because of the different era of changes in the different industries that we work in, innovation will always be part of what we do as development processes to take our ecosystem to sustainable development as we go forward with the system. Looking at entrepreneurship, which is my focus on this presentation this morning, based on my experience and my knowledge and understanding, many people still need clarity of who is an entrepreneur, what is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is an individual who creates a new business, bearing most of the risk and enjoying most of the rewards. The process of setting up a business is known as entrepreneurship. Some of us had the opportunity to be entrepreneurs. Before I became an entrepreneur, I was employed with the government service. But during my time of working, I had a vision. So most times when we become entrepreneurs, we have a vision. And if we don't push that vision through, how can we be the entrepreneur that we see ourselves to be? So according to Adam Haynes, entrepreneurship plays a key role in the economy by using skills and initiatives necessary to anticipate needs and bring new ideas to the market. So when we come up with an idea to initiate a business or a project that we want to be our own entrepreneur, if we don't take it forward, that reality, that vision will not be a reality. So hence further emphasize that entrepreneurship that proves to be successful in taking on the risk of creating a startup is rewarded with profits and growth opportunities. So if when we become entrepreneurs, we don't look at the focus of profits and growth. So growth also forms part of sustainability. And as part of that, we also have to explore opportunities regarding innovation. So focus on startup. Most times when we look at entrepreneurship, some people have startup businesses, some people have existing businesses. There are two areas of focus regarding entrepreneurship. So if you have not been an entrepreneur, then you are focusing on being one that would be considered a startup business. The focus of startup business is a little more challenging than an existing business in some areas based on my expertise and experience. Most time clients would come to me regarding startup business. I feel that they have some level of fear in them, that they are afraid of taking the initiative. As mentioned there, by using the skills and initiative necessary to anticipate the needs, because you saw business need, it means you want to initiate it. So when we initiate a business need, there is an opportunity for us to take ownership. So being an entrepreneur also has an opportunity to own that business opportunity. But to own that business opportunity, there must be clear and smart objectives. Because without smart objectives, your focus to start up that business will not materialize as a profit and growth opportunity if you don't plan well. So going forward, why are entrepreneurs important? Yes, entrepreneurs are important. I've been an entrepreneur from 2009. And when I became an entrepreneur, I felt powerful because I owned my business. I was able to take decisions. So being an entrepreneur gives you that directive, that management skill, that leadership skill to own what that initiative you had as a vision to take that business forward. So looking at entrepreneurship from an ecosystem, business or project point of view, it is possible. We are here to encourage you and bring more awareness that you can take advantage of this opportunity. But what is important about entrepreneurship is the support systems. You don't work alone. You can't do it alone. You need the support systems to take you forward. So we are going further here to elaborate a little more on how it is important to become an entrepreneur, especially for a startup business. What are the important things you need? Here's elaborated on the concept of entrepreneurship as the resources economists categorize as integral to production. The other three being land, natural resources, labor, and capital. Interestingly, capital form a very important part of entrepreneurship. You have the vision, you want to initiate the idea, but you have to look at how possible can this idea come to a reality. Without capital, ventures or venue, it will not be possible. So an entrepreneur combines the first three of these manufacturing goods, such as the land, natural resources, labor, and capital. Yes, you can come up with this, but the typical thing is how you create and develop the business plan going forward to become that entrepreneur that you vision, that you want to be. First, you have to look at hiring people, acquiring the resources, securing financing, and provide leadership and management for that business. These are very key focus areas for entrepreneurship business. So I'm going to elaborate a little more in business plan so that we can encourage new entrepreneurs of the awareness of preparing a business plan before going into the business venture. This is an example of a business plan template. To become an entrepreneur, especially focusing on examples of ecosystem businesses, you must think of a business plan. Everything we do that we want successful results going forward, planning is vital. Management, leadership, you need the skills to support the development, the execution, the implementation of the ecosystem business or project that you want to undertake as a vision. First thing regarding the business plan is a problem. When we identify or initiate something that we see as a need, a business need or a project need in a community, it is seen as a problem. And not a problem is not always a negative. Sometimes the problem situation can be seen as a positive. That is why during business planning, we do SWOT analysis that would identify our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So looking at the problem we see sometimes can be an opportunity. It can also be seen as a threat. But if your focus is more on positivity, you look at that problem as an opportunity that you can explore and take it further. So looking at the problem based on the business plan, you come up with the idea to develop an ecosystem as a project to undertake a business venture. But you realize you don't have certain necessary resources available and readily available to undertake that venture. So based on the business plan, which is most times used as a template to guide you going forward to undertake that entrepreneurship program or project or business, you need to have something documented. We call that requirements documentation. Most times when we look at standards are not only focusing on the ecosystem as a natural resource. The preparation for the ecosystem business requires proper standards from the planning stage. What are required to plan for that business venture? Am I ready to undertake that business venture? Do I have the expertise to prepare my own business plan? If you do not have the expertise to prepare that business plan to undertake an ecosystem business venture, we are trained as consultants to assist and guide you to prepare a good business plan going forward. Because there are times you may come up with the idea and ready to start the business. You may have the capital at start. You may not have the capital at start, but you do not have the proper guidance on whether you did any proper feasibility study to know whether this business is ready for the outside market. So when you identify the problem, which is I want to be part of the economic development, to develop an eco business, here it is, I have that idea and I want a plan. You come to a consultant, the consultant listen to you, do a consultation, get that, understand the feasibility aspect of that business venture. If you meet the requirements based on the feasibility study that will be done to understand the analysis that we are working with to take your business to the level that you want it, we also have to explore promotion. Promotion also deals with the marketing aspect. You have to conduct proper market research. Whilst you want to do an ecosystem business venture, did you conduct a proper market research in the community that you want to implement that project? It is necessary. We need feedback from the community based on that market research. How are they going to accept that business? Are you ready? Do you have competitors out there? And regardless of competitors in the business, see competitors as a networking way of being in the business venture. We have learned that competitors should not only be seen as threats. We should also look at them as a support system and as an opportunity that based on that, we need more business ventures or similar business ventures because of the capacity. Based on the population, sometimes one type of eco-business may not be enough in a certain community to support the people who are very passionate about the business venture. We also have to look at solutions, how we are going to solve the problem that we identified to undertake the business venture. Do we have the right people, the right skills to work with us on the ecosystem business? Do we have the capacity to undertake that business? Do we have a proper location? Do we have the equipment, the tools? So resource base is also important, looking at the solution to undertake the business plan for that business venture. We also have to look at business models, benchmark, compare. Financial projection is a key area of focus for business plan that I really would want to just quickly elaborate on. If for a startup business, you would require financial projection. If you have an existing business, you would require to do cash flow statements of your income, how you did previously, and how are you going to do based on the financial projections. So all these things we do as part of the assessment to prepare a business plan, to know how feasible, how viable that this business venture is going to take this entrepreneur to undertake that business. So that is our main focus on business plan, financial projections or income statements, marketing, and management and leadership. These are the key areas. And another area of focus is funding requirement. Do you have the availability of funds to undertake the ecosystem business? If you don't, you can consult, you can do research and find out how can I get help. So we are coming down the slides to encourage entrepreneurs who want to go into the ecosystems to know that there are Caribbean organizations who are readily available to assist you to undertake the ventures, but you must understand also that undertake the ventures, you must prepare a business plan and present it to help you as an entrepreneur, because without some documentation of a proper business plan, you are not ready to undertake that venture, regardless of the vision and the initiation that you may put forward. We would like to encourage you to understand a business plan is one of the first area of importance regarding entrepreneurship. We have here again the basic concept of ecology. I won't really stay long on this topic. As I said, the previous presenters already discussed a lot about the ecosystem. But ecosystem, what I quickly want to stay here is to understand the concept of ecosystem came from ecology. How do we look at ecology as a concept, a natural thing that we have to deal with? Some consider ecosystem as an abbreviation from ecological system. So because the ecological units, ecosystem, energy flow, nutrients, cycles, and everything associated with the ecosystems, they are there as natural resources. And sometimes what we also notice, some of the natural resources from the ecological systems are also used by man to develop ecosystems in different areas. The first principle of the ecology is that each living organism has an ongoing and continual relationship with other elements that makes up its environment. So we have to look at the environment regarding ecosystems. Based on the environment of the ecosystems that we are pushing to be more aware of what happens with the ecosystem, an understanding of the examples for the ecosystems are the freshwater types, the marine ecosystem services, the terrestrial ecosystems, and the wetland ecosystem. So there are many examples regarding the ecosystem types that you can look at and explore before you can come up with an idea of which type of ecosystem that you want to explore for your business venture as an entrepreneur. Well, most of the examples on these screens, they have been existing in the Caribbean islands. Some of them have been doing very well as businesses, and you can decide to look at your area of focus regarding the ecosystems examples there and decide which one based on the support systems that you will get. To get the support systems, you also need to understand there's a process. Every undertaking that we do in business ventures, there's a process. Based on the process flow regarding ecosystems, there are 6 steps that we can focus on to encourage our entrepreneurs. One is demonstrate that you really believe in ecosystem, co-opt foundation customers, develop and share a roadmap for ecosystem, communicate the value of joining, shrink entry barriers, look for partners that bring their own ecosystem. So that is to encourage you to understand why you want to go into the venture of the ecosystem, you need support systems. You have to do market research. You have to look at who will support you, remove barriers, shrink the entry barriers, remove any negative thoughts and focus more on positive thoughts. We have this slide there which says the Youth Business Caribbean guide is intended to pair with the entrepreneurship ecosystem to map for maximum effectiveness. So therefore, there is evidence of cooperation and collaboration in the economic sustainability of the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystems in the Caribbean. The Youth Business Caribbean is a big body. It supports all the other Caribbean islands as an umbrella body to promote opportunities for entrepreneurship ecosystem. So do not be afraid to take opportunity to be an entrepreneur regarding ecosystem. There is already a unified body in the Caribbean providing support systems for the Caribbean islands who want to go into the ecosystem businesses. As a result of that, we have evidence that Trinidad and Tobago is one of the typical examples that we are using in this presentation, because Trinidad and Tobago saw the opportunity to be supported by the Caribbean youth business to be part of the ecosystem. As a result of being part of the ecosystem business, entrepreneurship ecosystem has been highly promoted under these organizations. And Trinidad and Tobago is an example. As you can see in this map, they also have support systems from government. They also have frequent events for engaging networking. Networking has been very highly promoted for entrepreneurship ecosystems. You have to connect with the right people, the right organizations, so that you can get the business out there. We also have to explore sustainable pool of startups and entrepreneurship. That is a key focus for this presentation. How do we look at the vision going forward to sustain the entrepreneurship ecosystem businesses? So if you are in the startup process, you need to connect with the organizations in Trinidad and Tobago that support entrepreneurship ecosystems. They have already established many avenues. It has been successful because it is out there globally. They are known for being part of entrepreneurship ecosystems. We also have the similar model in Barbados that is supported also by the youth Caribbean business. The good thing about
Ms. Pacquette, I'm sorry to interject, but I'm just looking at the time and we are running a bit behind schedule. So I just wanted to chime in with a bit of a time check.
Okay, so well, I just have 2 or 3 more slides to quickly go.
Okay, sure.
Thanks. Okay, so as I said, I won't elaborate too much on the ecosystem concept again, because we have already spoken about it, but the importance of bringing it here is how we look at ecosystem to collaborate and to cooperate for economic sustainability within the entrepreneurship ecosystem. The ecosystem recognizes that members of that system must work with and around each other to keep the system stable, ideally optimizing the collective benefit. So this is the focus for this slide here, to encourage the entrepreneurship people that the ecosystems can work. It has been working, but you need to network and support the organizations that collaborate to get it to work. 3 main areas of focus of economic sustainability for ecosystems are management, marketing, and maintenance. This is a slide to encourage you that evidence of the cooperation and collaboration for ecosystem is in the Caribbean. Again, when we look at Youth Business Caribbean, they have brought different models, and this is a model from them to support and encourage ecosystem funders. They give support in funding, training, and business support to take you from a startup business to an existing ecosystem business. Here is another area where we can look at another model highly promoted by the Economic Development Consulting for Collaborative Economic Development System. This model has a process where you have to look at the process as a step-by-step process to encourage you. Discovery, how did you discover, come up with the idea to develop your ecosystem? Development categories, what are the areas of the ecosystem that you want to undertake? So this model will guide you as a step-by-step process to encourage you to find the right organizations to support your ecosystem. This is another slide to finalize the presentation. Economic sustainability within innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystems in the Caribbean. This will guide you to help you with what we spoke about on the business plan, what you can look at, the policies, the market, the human resource capital, the support systems, the culture, and the finance. The important thing about it is to understand securing financing is important for entrepreneurs who want to go into entrepreneurship ecosystems, especially around the Trinidad and Caribbean islands. I would like to encourage you to be part of the charter as we go forward with the awareness of ecosystem development. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that insight, Ms. Pacquette. I see we do have a question in the chat, but in the interest of time, I will encourage you to continue putting your questions there, and we'll take the questions at the end of both presentations. So I'll now move along to our second speaker, Mr. Emerson John Charles. Mr. John Charles is a national expert in ISO 56000 Innovation Management Systems, the chairman of the Innovation Association of Trinidad and Tobago, and an innovation policy specialist in the Ministry of Planning and Development. He holds a master's degree in business development and innovation from the Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business. He served on the board of the San Juan Business Association, where he represented the organization at Parliament's Joint Select Committee on the topic of the impact of COVID-19 on the MSC sector. He has published a number of articles on innovation, with some being featured in the Trinidad Business Express, and has a strong focus on the transformative impact the fourth industrial revolution will have on society. He also has over 10 years experience in business development, innovation, and entrepreneurship in the nonprofit and private sectors. Without further ado, Mr. Emerson John Charles, you now have the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was still muted. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm still muted. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can, and we can hear you clearly.
Okay, great. So I'll get started. Okay, so I'd just like to bring your focus to the ISO, the organization, the right-hand side of the screen. I think it's important to know that everyone is aware that there are now ISO standards for firms that want to build their innovative capabilities. It's called the ISO 56000, and we should all get ready, should get on board with that. So, having listened to all of the other webinar series, it should be no surprise to anyone that we have little to zero innovation within the English-speaking curriculum. If we look at the Global Innovation Index, there are only 2 countries there, and Jamaica way outpaces Trinidad and Tobago by more than 30 places. And that is interesting by itself because Trinidad has much more of a larger economy. In terms of the readiness for frontier Merger Index, then we have more countries there, but our rankings aren't great. But at least we have some information, some countries there. We're not even a blip on the radar when it comes to the global startup ecosystem. But coming back to the ISO Technical Committee for Innovation Management Systems, it is very disturbing to me that we only have 1 country that's a participating member, but we have no other countries that are even observed and looking to learn about these standards that will help our ministries, our NGOs, our private sector players learn how to build their innovative capabilities. So when I heard about the innovation charter, in my mind, I was like, what charter? How many countries? And I want to give the answer to these questions at the end. How many Caribbean countries do you know actually have national innovation policies? Actually have science and technology clusters in any of the 11 emerging technologies? And does CARICOM as a whole itself have a regional innovation policy? I'm looking forward to that. But I will share the only 2 instances that I'm aware of. Jamaica has an approved national innovation policy, and we can see that in the Global Innovation Index, not only do they outrank Trinidad by a lot, but that report itself mentions Jamaica quite a few times for its growth and its development in an organization, other countries within the region. And within the region, that's not just the Caribbean. Jamaica is standing out when we compare ourselves to all of Latin America. So that's the importance of having an innovation policy. Trinidad and Tobago, well, ours has expired, and we're hoping that something like will change soon. Now, the importance of innovation policy, we love to mention Singapore. Singapore is much smaller than Dominica. It's slightly smaller than Dominica, but its per capita GDP is over 17 times that of CARICOM, and its GDP is almost 5 times that of CARICOM as a whole. But why is that? From the mid-1960s, the 1960s, from the start, Singapore made science, technology, and innovation a key part of their economic strategy. They have been engaged in technology transfer. But Singapore had an advantage. They were able to ride the wave of what we call the computer age, information age, the internet, and computers were now being developed now, but they did not have the capabilities in those new coming areas. But they recognized that they needed to jump on the wave, and that's why they built their strategy. Now, just to touch very briefly on an industrial revolution is a situation where you have increases in science and technology that has transformative impacts on the way people live, work, and play. But we as a Caribbean, we don't have to worry. It is fortunate that right now we are at the cusp of the 4th industrial revolution. And it was only in Davos 2016 when the entire world agreed and said, listen, all these rapid changes that we are seeing in all aspects of our lives, this is not just random, this is not age. But what we need to do, we need to identify which are these technologies that are doing so that give us an advantage that are transforming the world. And of course, everyone knows about ChatGPT and that artificial intelligence. I've used it myself. It's absolutely wonderful. But The difference between the third industrial revolution and now is that the expected increases in wealth, the expected increases in productivity are going on previous industrial revolutions. And if a small country like Singapore, remember, physically sized more or less of Dominica, can be an economic powerhouse, we have this opportunity right now. Now, why is this even more of an opportunity for us? Is that we all speak about the artificial intelligence. That is only one of 11 emerging technologies. All 11 have fantastic growth and productivity potentials, right? And so what do we as Caribbean nations, what should we do? We should, like Singapore, we are small. We cannot even try to excel in all 11, but we can at least select 3 and set up research centers. I mean, and we already have the fundamental ingredients to do so. So in UE, there's a very small artificial intelligence research group that has been getting their students in jobs and internships in places like Facebook and Google. They have been working with some of our local firms. Jamaica already have a biotechnology research center with some research centers doing research on genetics and things of that nature. So we are ready to go, but we need to have our policies in place. And Dr. Nurse said something on Tuesday's webinar that stood out to me. He said education policy is innovation policy. And this is the Future of Jobs Report 2023. And if you look at number 2, which is creative thinking, number 5, curiosity and lifelong learning, and even number 9, leadership and social influence. Is our education system preparing our young people for this new age? Are our primary and secondary school students coming and feeding into university systems to boost the type of ideas and economy we want to create? Well, I'll let you all answer that. Another thing that we need to get involved in, we need to have some sort of science diplomacy. I mean, in these 11 emerging technologies, China, Europe, and USA, they have the concentration of these science and technology clusters for these things. We could at least have one science and technology officer in each of these areas to try and help that technology transfer. Right? I mean, going back to Jamaica, which outranks Trinidad in the Global Innovation Index, they have a Department of Diaspora, but that Department of Diaspora is within their Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which says that they understand science diplomacy, and there are quite a few things we could look to things. Now, when it comes to China, fortunately, our private sector seems to know something is going on. They are prepared. I wrote an article in the Business Express in 2017 that spoke about the rise of corporate innovation in Trinidad, and it has only been increasing. Now, are these major big companies in Trinidad, they using the ISO 56000 for the best practices? I hope so. Are they doing research in any of the 11 emerging technologies? I'm not too sure, but I can only hope. And again, now, everyone who's looking to export into business, they know about quality, ISO 9001, which is the quality management standard, which is the norm. But before they had quality management systems as a major profession, a major system in businesses, project management was the norm, and it remains. And now, global organizations are recognizing that innovation management is just as important as going to surpass quality management, the same way quality management surpass project management. This is just a brief, very quick overview of what an innovation system will look like within an organization. But I don't want to focus on these details right now. And I know you're reading that the ISO has various market benefits, cultural benefits, and organizational benefits. But in terms of collaboration, cooperation, one of the main benefits of these standards is that it will allow all of us to finally have the same language and have the same understanding, whether we're in Jamaica or we're in Trinidad, to know what innovation really is. If a firm says, oh, we are innovative, we could now come and ask that firm, you're innovative. Oh, are you certified? or I'm at least following the methodologies in these international best practices. And wrapping up very quickly, you know, when it comes to innovation ecosystem, you have always heard of the triple helix. Universities and research that pass on the industries that commercialize agreements and royalties back with government support and negotiating everything. I had in London last year, October. I attended an innovation conference over a week. And so they still believe and support in the basic triple helix, but they now say that they must have a private community of design thinkers. And they must have an organization that shares information in the ecosystem. And, you know, I thought about this from a Caribbean context. And as I told myself that, you know, such an organization may think that they own or they control what the players that they're overlooking. But no, the role of this organization is simply to coordinate. And of course, I want to again and speak about that. So 56,000, as that is just sharing the same language. So be that simple thing that we can emulate. And in here now, you know, the innovations are buzzword, but I would like all of you to focus on innovation, but it's having the support, resources, and capacity. Innovation does not happen on its own. Innovation must be intentional. And if an organization needs to have the support and resource and the capacity to the people to do the same on a national level, we need to emulate that, and definitely on a Caribbean level, we need to ensure that we have the support, resources, and capacity. And I would like to thank you all for your kind attention, and I hope you all got some insights from my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. John Charles. That was indeed a passionate and thought-provoking presentation. So I will now go ahead and open the floor to the participants for Q&A. You may feel free to raise your hand and unmute your microphone to ask your question, or continue to type it in the chat. Yeah, so while you're thinking of your questions, I'll go ahead and read the questions that are already in the chat. I'll start with this one from Adam Raful, because I think it's directed to Mr. John Charles. What is the reason for such low innovation rating in TNT? Is it because of the emphasis on retail and distribution? Is it due to the ease of doing business? Is it that UE and others need more government support for research and development?
Okay, well, I would say that right now, Trinidad does not have innovation process in effect to help guidance. That's number one. And I don't think that the firms that we have, I don't think they're following the best practices in being innovative, but we have some firms that stand out like Ramps Logistics that's doing some great things. But for the mainstay of our economy has always been export, oil and gas, and then the other businesses will just import and sell locally. But that cannot work because we know our oil is running out. In terms of UE has it's fantastic research. I mean, their core research center just recently started construction in a chocolate factory last month, I believe. But that should have been happening 20, 30 years ago. But it seems our academia and private sector have not been aligned, and they have not been linking with each other. I would like to say that maybe we need to use our regulations and our taxes to try and give both of them incentives to boost those kind of collaborations.
Okay, thank you. And this question is for Leanthia. If it's okay to ask, what are your organization's key success, you would say, since forming?
Hello, I didn't get you clearly.
Yes, so the question is asking, what would you say are the key successes of your organization since its formation?
Well, the key success is meeting the needs of the clients who are part of our stakeholders. It is very good that when many people come to you because they have a business need and they need your assistance to really take it through and get it implemented. What is very good is that when we go through the process of the business plan consultation and get everything ready and done for the clients, and they take it to the financial institution, and they get back to you regarding the approval of the project or the business funding, it is a very good success for us as consultants that the work and the effort that we put together to support the small business development ventures, that at least the first priority and objective is getting secured funding. Once they can get that secured funding as a way forward to take the business plan to the level that we expected to take it forward, this is seen as a success for us. But the good thing about the success is how there can be continuity, sustainability of the business. We still give support to the business ventures after they implement their projects or their business.
Great, thank you. And another question for you, Ms. Pacquette. What practical advice do you have for initiating a startup in Trinidad? What is the time frame and what is the minimum amount of required capital?
Well, what I could encourage for Trinidad, since most of the support organizations under the Caribbean youth business, you have in Trinidad, the Youth Business Trinidad is an organization set up to help the youth to get the start of business. You sometimes have to go there, do some consultation with them. They will give you the requirements. Again, everything is based on requirements. So based on the requirements of the organization for the start of business, they will let you know. We also have support systems from other organizations. It's not only from the youth business. There are financial institutions who support small business development, but you must meet their requirements. And one of the key requirements, you must have a business plan prepared, well prepared by a professional. Or they also support with training. Some of the youth business development organizations in the Caribbean, they provide business plan training where you must attend the training. Based on the training, it also gives you the opportunity to prepare your own business plan. But some people who do not have the skills to do the financial aspect, we also give support there. We encourage entrepreneurship. We encourage what level of support that we can give as consultants. But if you can do a part for yourself, that means you are initiating the support and the startup of your own business. And then if you need further support to prepare the financial projections, we also can assist you. But they also provide financial assistance in the form of a grant, depending on the requirements of the organization.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pacquette. This question is for you, Emerson. How can I find out more about the ISO 56000 standard on innovation, and is this standard used in TNT?
Well, this standard has been in development for the last 9 to 10 years, actually. And Trinidad and Tobago, through the Bureau of Standards, is the only curriculum nation that's part of it and adding value to it. So you can contact the Bureau of Standards for that information. How many companies are actually using it? I will assume none. I don't think any are. I'm hoping by the end of this year, maybe next year, as it gets marketed more organizations, so we look to sign up for it. But I think everyone should Google the ISO 56002 and contact the Bureau of Standards as soon as possible to get more details.
Okay, great. And I also see a comment from Nadita, also echoing the sentiments that the Bureau of Standards could be contacted regarding ISO standards. So we have another question from Sharina Gerald. Is our climate one which really promotes innovation? Our education system fails to engage or excite many of our students. How can an individual make a difference in this landscape? Any of you could take this question.
Well, I think that I like what India does in terms of the education system, because our education system has a focus on rural learning, and some people may will argue that it kills creativity. And what India has done is that they have created the position of a chief innovation officer, which reports to the chief education officer. And that organization, that department's role is to promote out-of-the-box thinking within students. And it's very simple and relatively low cost how they do it. They identify one teacher in each school who they train in some of the principles of creativity and developing ideas, and that teacher then spreads within each school. But how can an individual make a difference? Well, one, you could, of course, you go back to familiarize yourself with the ISO 6,000. Try to increase your network as much as possible. I mean, in the age of the internet, I mean, if your business is in software, you can find some online groups to get different books online. You could find the online groups to get ideas and best practices. Read up on the magazines in your field. Just expose yourself to different groups of people and different types of innovation to boost your own creativity.
Okay, thank you, Mr. John Charles. And just one comment in the chat, according to the World Environmental Fund, I believe, 2018, Trinidad has poor cultural attitudes towards entrepreneurship here, and we don't adopt world best practices in our business. Latin American entrepreneurs, many firms, but little innovation. From my personal experience as an entrepreneur, direction from a younger age, i.e. education, which showcases entrepreneurship as a viable path, would have been very beneficial. Okay, and before we close this portion of the session, I would just like to ask one question to both presenters. From your perspectives, how can TNT best achieve a coordinated approach amongst the various players within the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem?
Well, first, we need to have that national innovation policy. That's the first thing we need to do. And we need to ensure that we have the right, government gets the right incentives. I think it was last year, 2 budgets ago, the government did allow a tax benefit, a tax allowance tax benefit for firms that wanted to engage in R&D. That's a remarkable initiative. I don't know how many firms have taken advantage of that, but more instances like that will start to really put and allow, give people the incentive to engage in the right type of behaviors. So to boost our innovation space. And for sure, we also want to try and using clustering strategy. So in Vision 2030, they have outlined 8 areas where our local goods and services can compete internationally. We really push that and develop that, as well as having those research centers in any of the 11 emerging technologies that the 4th Industrial Revolution has provided.
Okay, thanks, Mr. John Charles. Ms. Pacquette, do you have any insight on that question?
Well, I could just give a little support on that. I know based on the systems in place that there are incentives given from the government systems to support entrepreneurship. And also networking has been a very, very high area of importance for us to get our entrepreneurs network with the right organizations, like the right grouping. It helps with the collaboration and the cooperation that we are pushing for the awareness of being an entrepreneur. So it's not about keeping things to yourself. You have to get connected, join certain associations, join groupings, network with consultants, network with entrepreneurship organizations. If there are none, you can come together, form associations that will give support, because a lot of opportunities for grant funding for entrepreneurship projects of businesses, they are given most times to groupings, organizations Okay, so if you can come together and network, you will get that opportunity, because I have developed this project plans for organizations that are non-profit making organizations, because there are opportunities for both non-profit and profit making organizations through grant system, but you must do your own research and initiate networking to know the right people and the right organizations that can support the venture.
Okay, thank you. And we'll take one final question because we are indeed over schedule right now. So I see a raised hand by, is it Ade Innis King? You could go ahead and unmute.
Yes, hi, morning, and thank you for getting my name right on the first try. So great presentation. This question is for Mr. Emerson John Charles. So there are many factors stifling innovation in TNT, from corruption to maintaining the status quo to outdated business models, incumbent companies just being too fat and continue to make money, so there's no incentive for them to innovate. The list goes on. So what can you do, what can we do to encourage the average citizen to be more entrepreneurial, to be less risk averse? Because Trinidad is brimming with creativity, ingenuity, but in my experience, we have a lot of people who just not willing to take that risk, not willing to take that jump and be able to disrupt markets locally and to be more innovative. So how can we encourage people to be more innovative, to be more willing to take that risk? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Innes. So what I will say is that if you look at the slide where I identified quite a few major organizations within the country that have innovation departments and senior innovation staff. I mean, I can't, if you go on LinkedIn, I have about 3 different innovation job titles of people working there. So I'm hoping that's a sign that our corporate sector is realizing that it needs to make a change. What can we as a society? You know, when I look at the Ministry of Community, Sport and Community Development, they have these courses that they do outreach to different communities. I never see anything along the lines of creativity training, how to build and develop ideas, anything about the business model canvas. It's many times, it's technologies that are from the third or the second industrial revolution, how to create candles, how to some sort of metalwork. Now, those things have value, but there's no inclusion of these new technologies and new way of doing things, in someone's mind to boost their creativity. So I think those are just some initial steps that could be taken, but it definitely requires some workshops. So, and I will just touch on, I saw a question in the chat there, and I'll touch on this. If any organization or country wants to implement an innovation management system, there must be some prerequisites. You can't just say, well, we want to do this. You need a clear innovation strategy, you need top management support, you need innovation culture. And by that, that's about talk about the workshops and the right type of training for the people and the leadership. And you need to have a framework which I've seen many times, which is the ISO that can look at. But that's my view on that question.
Thank you, Mr. John Charles. So we would now bring this portion of the session to an end as we move on to the virtual networking session. Thank you so much once again to both speakers for your valuable insights. I now hand over to Mr. Richard Hilson of GBES Consultants to take us through the networking session.
Yes. Are you hearing me now? Good morning, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you. Good morning, Richard.
Okay. Morning. Okay, so guys, the point of what we're about to do, we're going to go into small rooms, breakout rooms, and the idea is to foster collaboration to address some of the issues that we have identified this morning. In your chat box, early on in your chat box, there is a, if I could just share my screen for a second. Yeah, you'll see something like this. And what we're going to do, we're going to go in there in groups of, say, 6 or 7. And the idea is we're going to exchange information and we're going to ask you some questions, right? Along these lines. In other words, what we're trying to do here is to network with the objective of forming collaborative efforts so that we could address some of the very issues that you've been asking questions about. It is clear that what is lacking is some kind of focus. And I think if we get together as entrepreneurs and share information and be willing to collaborate to bring about the type of changes that are clearly needed to foster a more innovative and entrepreneurial culture, because clearly that's lacking from what we're hearing. So if I could ask Chad to, first of all, I want you to make sure you have access to this, because when you go into your rooms, while we exchanging information with each other, and somebody will be in there from time to time to sort of